Hi there, welcome back to the Alban allotment. It is another absolutely beautiful, beautiful day today, so I could not resist coming down here on my lunch break just to get a few jobs done and to record this video. Since it's a little bit windy, but since it's a nice day and the light is good and I've got some really cool stuff to show you on this plot, on plot 79, I think it's time for another plot tour. So I'll take you over to the wildflower patch like usual and show you what's changed. Here we are at the wildflower patch at the start of plot 79, and as you can see, quite a lot has changed here. We've been spending a bit of time doing some tidying up. So in here there was obviously all the wildflowers that are growing now, but there was also just a mass of nettles and bindweed and grass, and we've been going through and trying to pull as much of it out as possible, which is what a lot of this stuff is. This is the aftermath of a lot of that, and I'm really happy that we did, because now you can actually see how lovely some of this stuff is looking. So we didn't even know, but we've got some white bluebells in here. We thought maybe this was lily of the valley, but we were completely wrong, and turns out it's white bluebells. So I'm not sure if these were already here or if we put them in. I can't remember. We did have some saved seed from a house that we lived in where we were trying to get the white bluebells to grow. I can't remember actually sowing any direct, but nevertheless we have got some white bluebells, which is really lovely. And then we've got some forget-me-nots next to that. Still a few weeds back there which need to come out. I can see some more bindweed, but we've purposely left some of the bigger thistles because it is a wildflower patch and they are really good for pollinators. So hopefully they'll be nice and stocky this year. We've also left the brambles in. I mean, we have tried to get them out before and they keep growing back, so not so bothered, because it does mean that we can get some raspberries, or blackberries rather, off them. And we can try and control them a bit. This whole area, actually, when we took over this plot, it was all brambles. So it was all right up into the trees, right up into that tree, just completely covered in a nest of brambles. It's a little bit windy today, so apologies if the mic is picking that up, but hopefully it's doing a pretty good job of blocking it out. So yeah, it was all brambles here, and it was all rubbish. There was loads of rubbish like nestled in it. There was a big metal box, there was an old water butt back there and everything. And one of the first things we did was clear this out, and then obviously as soon as we cleared it out, people then started walking directly through. So we've always had a bit of a battle to try and stop people walking through it. So that's why actually these logs are here. We kind of firstly just put them here just to kind of store them out of the way, because we've been storing them in this area where we've also tidied, but we really like it. It makes it look a little bit more like a little woodland, and we really love it. And hopefully it will make it harder for people to walk through, especially as stuff starts to grow. Alongside that, we've got some foxgloves. So Sergio's dad also donated some foxgloves to us as well. So some of these self-seeded from last year, but these smaller ones, they've just been put in as well. There's a few more over there by the shed as well. Giving it all a little bit of a tinkle of water because it was looking a little bit sad. But hopefully they will do nicely this year as well. Some more forget-me-nots have come out. We were not sure if we were going to get any forget-me-nots this year, so really happy to see them, and hopefully these will self-seed like crazy as well. Again, you just got to try and keep on top of the grass, but we did put some yellow rattle in to try and control this a little bit, but we haven't seen any of it come up yet. But obviously if we take out all of the grass, I don't think we'll see any yellow rattle. So trying to just take out the biggest bits of it and allow some of it to carry on in order to get the yellow rattle to try and germinate. There's still a few more nettles and stuff in there, but we can try and keep on top of it now that we've taken out the bulk. We've taken away some of the pots from here. Down here are some daisies, and this is what's left of the hyacinths, and a few primulas or something here, which are all looking a little bit sad. I think we're probably going to take these out soon, dry the bulbs, and then store them in sawdust for the rest of the season, and then we can reclaim the pots as well for our chilies. The honeysuckle is doing fantastically well. I've actually recently had to tie this in, but it is all really doing well. We're going to have to, at some point, it's up to here now, give it some way of climbing up into the tree soon as well. Probably quite easy to do because we'll just attach wire to one of the branches or something and then run it down. But really happy with this. Had to tie some of it in recently because it was starting to trail along the floor, which is not where we want it to grow. Next to that, there's some more foxgloves. My shadow's in the way. And around here again, there's a few dock left, but we've been trying to get out the dock from the ground as much as possible and actually try to get the roots out rather than just, oh, can I get it? No, rather than just pulling the leaves off. That one's particularly difficult because it's so close to this foxglove and we don't want to disturb it. And this one again, another self-seeded foxglove from last year. looking pretty good. I think there might be a few in there actually. Really excited to see how these look later in the season. A few more of the pots that we've moved from around there. Again, these are all definitely starting to go over, but obviously just trying to leave these until they die back naturally before we take them out of the pots. The purple sprouting broccoli has now had the netting taken off of it. We've had a few harvests off of this. No huge florets or anything, because obviously when we took them right back to sort out the caterpillar issue towards the end of last year, we took off the main stem rather. But we did get some little side shoots and stuff which we've been harvesting, but these are now just so small that it's not really worth picking. So we've left this uncovered for the pigeons to touch, and naturally they haven't touched it once, I guess because it's so tall now. But that is just the way that it is. But eventually this will come out, and then that'll be this whole area free of stuff that we were growing from last year, and then we can sort out the weeds and stuff. We're not really sure exactly what to do with this space. We quite like just having the space, really. This whole area actually, if you remember, was just full of rubbish up until a few days ago actually. All of these logs, they were all just bundled up here. We had lots of rubbish, lots of pots and stuff. We've been just spending a few days just trying to clear it, and I'm really happy that we're finally at the stage now where we can spend some time tidying, especially on this plot as well. It's really, really nice. And then this is the other view of the wildflower patch. So again, these logs looking really nice. We weren't sure about them at first, but now we really like them, especially as grass and stuff starts to grow around the base. It should look a little bit more natural and really nice. There's a few, well, even more bindweed down here. It's going to be a nightmare to keep on top of. But actually I would rather bindweed than, you know, stuff like grass and nettles, because they take over. Like, obviously bindweed takes over, but grass and nettles, they get so big and so bushy, then they shade out other plants so quickly. Whereas bindweed, at least it kind of grows upwards and it's easy to pull out. And it won't stop some of these other little things germinating or being able to flourish, unlike the nettles and stuff. But you can see there's a ton of little seedlings down here. Not sure if they're all weeds or if some of them are flowers. We'll find out as they come up, but really excited about this. It's starting to look really good. This whole bit at the front was a little bit too grassy, so not a lot has actually survived or germinated there. But that's fine. We'll see what happens with this bit, because if this is all just weeds anyway, then, you know, it all needs to come out anyway. Yep, there's little foxgloves down there that I put in. They were looking a little bit wilted earlier, still are a little bit, so I've given them another water. But they're here, so they'll just kind of poke up over this little bench thing that I've made. We might even do some sweet peas here as well, which we have got ready to go out. But putting stuff here kind of stopped us just dumping stuff, which we've already done a little bit there, but it stops us dumping loads of stuff. There was loads of wood stored here as well. So this putting plants here kind of forces us not to just dump loads of stuff here all the time. Little dinky shed, had a little bit of a tidy up recently. The cameras are still working really well for us, apart from the fact that EE in St Albans have been pretty bad recently. So we've had very little in the way of data speed here. So when I'm out of the house, I can barely use my phone, and also the MiFi that we use as our Wi-Fi on the plot. That has been terrible, but we've sorted it out now. We've changed providers, so the cameras are still working really good. We still don't actually have a home base on or battery on this plot. Both of these two cameras, or both of these three cameras rather, on this plot are still just connected to the home base way over on plot 12 on the other side of the site, which is just astounding really. I was thinking that maybe once the trees, you know, start to get their leaves and blossom, and as people start to grow stuff, maybe the signal will get a bit weaker, but it still seems pretty good. And they also extend the Wi-Fi, so we also get Wi-Fi on this plot, even though the MiFi is situated on the other plot. Pretty cool really. I am planning to do a video at some point on our camera setup and our solar setup, but I want to do that when the shed is in a bit of a better state on plot 12, so I can talk about it and show you stuff a little bit better. A few of the things that were around in this area are now kind of here, but not all of it, and a lot of it is tidier as well. So we've got our trugs, our straw, this old IKEA plant stand, which is definitely on its last legs, I imagine. Probably get rid of that soon. And then, yeah, a little bit of rubbish. Bucket of potatoes. I can't remember which potatoes. I'm not sure if Sergio marked it. No. But that's the first lot we've done actually, like, not in the ground. All the rest are in the ground over there, which I'll show you. Haven't done any in bags yet, but we do have quite a lot left, and I really do need to pull my finger out and put them in bags, but I will do that soon. Our new cold frame actually has something in it now, already squeaky and already covered in mud. So these are some of our dahlias. Recently put these into pots, so these will stay in pots until they've shooted up a little bit, and then once we're confident there's no more frosts, they will go into the ground somewhere. We just need to find where. The grating that you can see underneath, that's what we were using as pond protection to stop the frog spawn getting eaten, and now it's under here to try and stop the rats and the mice getting to things quite so easily. Ooh, that's nice and squeaky. Our white daffodils, which are looking really pretty, although they're actually starting to go over now, but these are absolutely gorgeous when they're in their prime. These have finally come out. These took ages to show, but I'm not too bothered by that because it does mean we get a little bit of a late display of daffodils, which is really lovely, but the rest are all over now. These are all the little yellow ones. They are finished, unfortunately. Some more dahlias here. So the big pots are like the main tubers. At the end of the year, last year, we had to take our dahlias up again because it was flooded, and they got a little bit rotten, and then we stored them badly. We stored them in straw to begin with, and then a few weeks / months later decided to change it and put them into sawdust, which is significantly better, but it does mean that we had a bit of damage to the tubers. So at the end of last year, just to try and salvage what I could, I just cut them into thirds. So we only actually had 2 plants, but I've cut them into thirds, and most of it seems to be okay. There were some buds on some of them, and then obviously some of the little bits that fall off of them. I just thought I'd just try putting them in pots to see if they shoot, and hopefully we will increase our stock of the ones that we bought, and then the ones that we already had, and then we've also bought some more which are on plot 12 now as well. So hopefully this year we'll have loads of dahlias rather than just a couple of plants. And then these are our grapes. So these are the cuttings of grapes that Sergio took last year. He just shoved them in the ground basically, and they took really well. The ones in the pots don't seem to have taken, and then we're going to move these and hopefully move this grape as well to give us a bit more room in this smaller greenhouse this year. Sorry about the traps. If you're not into trapping mice, I do apologise, but we've had such a problem with them ruining the foundations in here that we had no alternative but to put traps down. But luckily we actually haven't caught that much, and what we have caught we've given to the fox to eat. So we don't use poison, we're just trying to control it a little bit in here. So all of this side, there's a hole in the wall there which we've tried to plug, but they keep getting back in, and then underneath where the cold frame is, they've been digging under and everything is just collapsing along here, so we had to do something about it. I did feel really guilty, and I don't like doing it, and it is a last resort, but we have been feeding the kite and the fox with them. In here we have some of the cauliflowers that have been going on since January the 3rd at the start of this year. They've just been potted up. They're looking really good, but these do need to go into the ground. I do love the colour they turn when they when they need repotting. They're a really, really gorgeous leaf. Some more sunflowers that haven't come up, which is a bit weird. These are Uchiki curry squashes that Sergio did recently. They haven't shown yet. The wild garlic, which I don't think will ever show. A very, very failed attempt at peas. These have been in a really long time. These just need to come out so we can reuse the modules for something else. Some more sunflowers that Sergio did. His are starting to come up. Nicotine plant, really, really, really tiny seeds. So you can just see the seedlings are starting to come up. And then some saved sweet pea seed. They've come up as well. This is all stuff that Sergio's done. These microgreens also just need to go in the compost bin. They didn't really do anything. We can probably eat them as they are, but they didn't really do what we wanted them to do. But more excitingly, down here we have got a couple of, I think, bluebell seedlings. So I was talking earlier about the seeds that we saved from a house we lived in that had white bluebells. I've tried actually sowing them into modules, and we didn't see anything for a really, really long time. But these two things that you can see here, I believe they are bluebell seedlings because they're smack bang in the middle. They're exactly the same, and they look like the pictures that I've seen on the internet. No others have come up yet, but that is really cool nonetheless. So the rest of the seeds I think I'll just chuck in the wildflower patch and they can do what they do naturally. But really cool that a couple that I've sown have come up. And then in here we have, we were meant to have a row of sweet peas which have come up. So these are also saved seed. Then these were all saved seed from nasturtiums, which I think only 3 have come up. And then these are all saved seed from sunflowers, which have also only had a couple come up. So a bit interesting to see that the saved seed from the nasturtiums, and the sunflowers have not done particularly well, but we do have a lot of saved seeds, so it doesn't really matter too much. We just need to keep trying. The rosemary, a few more have germinated, but the ones that germinated ages ago are taking their sweet time to do absolutely anything at all, but just trying to keep them going. And then the oregano, again, not a huge change, but there is a few that have germinated and a couple that are getting a little bit bigger, but they're very, very slow. The leeks, again, none of the ones in the middle have actually germinated still. Very strange, but the ones on the end are looking pretty good. These need to be either potted on or put out. Sunflowers are pretty happy, but probably need potting on soon, I imagine. Yep, they've got roots coming out the bottom of them. And I'm going to direct sow some soon as well. These can probably be maybe put straight out. I'm looking at the forecast and it doesn't look like there's going to be any frosts, but I'm a bit nervous that we'll get a surprise frost. Some more leeks, which I keep talking about in every single plot tour and keep forgetting to do anything with. These have been in modules now since probably like March 2021. It just shows you how long you can leave them in there. They're completely happy. I'll be interested to see what happens if we do put them in the ground. Maybe they'll just bolt immediately, who knows. And then some more leeks, which have germinated a little bit better. They do seem to like darkness a little bit more. See, there's some more down here that have germinated. And these are very slow to get any bigger, but again, they can probably be put into pots now or into the ground. Some sweet peas, which are definitely ready to go out, but looking okay. Probably going to put some of these around the seating area. We have already done some there, which I'll show you in a bit. But these can also go on the outside and maybe around the shed. The thyme is looking all right. It's a little bit crispy looking, but still smells amazing, and it is still alive, and it's growing quicker than all the other herbs, so trying to keep on top of that as well. Some more of those cauliflowers which need to go in the ground soon, and some very ropey looking onions that are grown from seed. These have needed to be pricked out for quite a long time but didn't get done, so Sergio's thinking about just trying to grow them in clumps and maybe as spring onions instead. The strawberries, we need to find a place for these, but they are also looking pretty good. Obviously already providing us some flowers, which will hopefully turn into strawberries. These strawberries particularly are so delicious, like so delicious. It's the sort of thing that, you know, people say homegrown food is the best, and then you try one and you're like, eh, but these ones are so good. We don't really like eating strawberries normally, but we are in love with these ones, so we're just trying to propagate them as much as possible. We just need to find the right place for them. Some more potatoes, these definitely need to go out. There's not as many left actually as I thought, but there's some more in here and some more here. And then these are, I think, climbing borlotti beans that Sergio only sowed a few weeks, not even weeks, a few days ago I think, and they are racing ahead. And then behind that I think is some peas that I've done as backups, because the ones that I put in the ground that were looking really good have been eaten by pigeons, which is a bit annoying. And then this area is pretty, well, it's got some stuff in it, but it is free now, so we can maybe think about bringing around some of the chilies to put here, and maybe the tomatoes, but I think they're probably all going to go on plot 12 this year. So as we exit the greenhouse, we get to our no-dig beds. So this is pretty much all broad beans, apart from a few leeks there, which I'm glad that I left in the ground. I was going to take them out. These ones are looking pretty good. You might see a few wilted ones as we go around. That's because I was filling some gaps with some that were in modules, and they are looking a little bit sad. They needed to go out a bit earlier than they did. Not sure if they're going to survive, but these ones particularly look really good. We've still got that same problem with the leaves being kind of eaten or harvested by beetles or ants or something. I didn't think we had it on this plot, but I have seen it quite a lot, and not just our plot either. So both our plots and a few others have had this same problem, which we'd never experienced before, but the plants themselves don't seem too bothered by it. A few of them are really good size and a few are a bit dinky, but these are the ones that were covered up with fleece flat to the ground longer than all the others, even though these had the fleece hoops over them to try and, you know, actually protect them, but also warm up the soil a little bit more. But they ended up needing protecting from things pulling them out of the ground, which is really annoying as well. The leeks are finally starting to do something. These have been in the ground for ages as well, probably at least a year now. And I guess they were just too overcrowded, and now that they've had some room to breathe, they're starting to perk up. They haven't bolted yet, but they're still not a massive size. But I could probably start eating some of these now, maybe as little onions instead. But in any case, just really happy to have some leeks that have finally started to do something on this plot. Some more broad beans, again a few like wilted ones in there, and yeah, even more broad beans because I really want a good crop of broad beans this year. We only had like a couple of meals worth last time, and I really love them to eat on toast and stuff with just salt and oil, olive oil. But also I really love the smell that they give off. I really love it. And so if you come down at about 5 p.m. and just sit around here when all the flowers are out, not right now, you'll get this incredible scent. So the more that you do, the stronger that scent is, and it smells almost like Parma violets, but not quite. And I absolutely love it, and it's one of my main reasons for growing broad beans now. And then we get to our giant beds. So we have started this area, this hill, and the back bit of plot 79 have always been a bit of a problem in terms of like we almost get to a point where we're about to do something with it and then something gets in the way. But I think now we're finally at the point where we can start thinking about it again. So Sergio's edged it again, and then we'll dig over and get out some of these weeds and then neaten it up and take this one out as well. And then we just need to figure out what to do with the hill. So we'll probably do another bed there, probably like there'll be a space here and maybe another no dig bed there. Then there'll just be a couple of paths in between. Some raspberries. Oh, these are blackcurrants. These need to have a home. Probably going to put them at the end of this plot next to the big blackcurrant bush. These are some raspberries which have also needed to go out somewhere for quite some time. There isn't anything in this bed yet apart from weeds, but we have been trying to hoe it, although they don't seem too bothered about being hoed. But overall, it's not too difficult to manage. It is starting to get a bit more usable. I think, well, I don't know what we're going to do in this bed yet. We haven't really properly discussed it. We might need to split it up a little bit, which is one of the things that we wanted to do last year, but just didn't get any time. We're not going to spend too much money or time on this plot, but we can separate it, like at least in terms of like breaking it up in terms of what we put in it, rather than just one big crop in there, which is what we did with this one. Although they are different types of potatoes, these are all potatoes up to that part now. So these are the main crops which Sergio did, I think, just before we went on holiday. They've now started to show. Hopefully we won't have any frost. If we do, we'll need to cover those with soil, but they are quite deep, and we just don't want obviously the foliage to get knocked back. And then the rest of it's just filled up with first earlies and second earlies, which have yet to actually show themselves. This was all really mossy as well, so I had to give this a really good hoe. But it's all starting to look pretty good now. It's such a big bed though. It's fine for potatoes and stuff like that, but when you want to do crops of like basil and stuff, it's not very good for that. Down here, we've finally taken the straw off of the strawberries. So the strawberries that you saw in there, all of those little babies, they all come off of these plants, and they are starting to look really nice as well. We've got a big space in the middle, and we also probably need to give them a bit of a feed soon and maybe a little bit of extra fresh compost. But they've got some flowers on too, so hopefully we will be getting some strawberries off these. And I'm hoping that by having them like in this container, this has obviously dropped a lot since we first did it, but hopefully by being a little bit inset like this, they are protected a little bit from birds and stuff. And I haven't actually seen any slugs in there yet either, which is quite nice. Again, we just had to start hoeing this bed because it was starting to get a bit weedy before we had time to use it. Maybe tomatoes will go on here. We might do some outside, but we want to focus on doing them undercover this year to try and avoid blight. But you never know, we might have a nice dry summer. We certainly didn't last year. The pond is looking really good. We've got some alpines that are just waiting to go around. It's a bit risky putting alpines in because if it floods, they will just not survive. But when they do look good, they look really good. And then Sergio has just been putting in a new couple of water features. They're all actually both powered off of the same solar panel, but that's just got like a little pump in there, which just has a little trickle of water. And then this one for trying to break up the water a little bit, just to stop it from going quite so green. Unfortunately, all that frog spawn that we saved, and the little bits that were kind of added after we saved some as well, don't seem to have amounted to very much, but it's so green and dark in there that it's really difficult to see if there are any tadpoles in there. So who knows if we actually got any of those to hatch. But still holding out hope that they will appear and that we do have some life under there, but it's just too murky in there. We can't really tell at the moment. Obviously our pot's there for protection for frogs or whatever. We need to flatten it out a little bit and make it a little bit more consistent around, and then put some more plants in as well. That is an not an aspidistra, I can't remember, a stilby? sounds right. Oof. Still, yes. That'll probably go in the ground. Sedum here and a chamomile as well. This bed has been mulched with just like all the little dregs of compost and stuff. So there's all the brown stuff that you can see. That's kind of coir compost that we've decided we don't like using because there's not enough nutrients in it. And then there's just like a few other bits from some other types of peat-free compost that we didn't really like using. We've settled on the Silver Grow Melcourt stuff now, and everything else that we just decided we didn't want. We're just going to mulch the beds with, and given that also a little bit of a hoe to try and sort out the weeds a little bit. On the right here, behind this netting, which is hard to see through, is where the Hurst Green shaft peas were. These were looking so good up until a few days ago, and then I came down and they'd all been eaten by pigeons. So that's what this is now for, which will also protect against pea moth. But by doing early sowings, it should have avoided the pea moth anyway. So it would have been nice not to have to put some more netting up, but we did, and hopefully they will bounce back. It's hard to show you just how horrible they are now, but let me see if I can get you under there. So you can see these are all looking really tatty now and not the best, but hopefully they'll bounce back, and this will give them some protection and a little bit of a fighting chance. They don't look as bad as the peats around the other side though. Down, oops, hit the cane as I walk around. So these are the flower shocker peas that were from Save Seed. These just have looked terrible since I've put them in the ground, but they're not actually dead yet. They're just not very good. So I'm thinking of just taking these out and just direct sowing some more. These ones were going to be for pea shoots. These ones were going to be for actual peas. And then between that we have some of the broad beans that we had in modules that went out. So that's why these are flowering, is because they were in the greenhouse in modules for quite a long time. And oh, I'm already getting that scent. It is absolutely beautiful. So hopefully these will give us some broad beans pretty soon. They're all now at least standing up on their own. These are a dwarf variety. Some of these will be, so I think this half is the Sutton and this half is Agrodulce. I can't remember which way around, but it's one of those two. They're both dwarf varieties, and they should be pretty good if we have any more storms, but hopefully we won't. And then that's kind of all of the stuff we've got in the ground. Oh no, there's some stuff in the seating area which I'll show you as well. And then this is the wisteria. It's looking really good, really good. But the jasmine next to it is not looking so good. Not looking good at all. This is all that's left. But it's not dead. It's not dead yet. Some roses. This is a scrambling rose that needs to go into the ground somewhere at some point. Maybe here, maybe on pot 12. And some more roses. These are all hopefully scented and will hopefully do nicely this year. The seating area, we finally got the flooring back down, which is really nice. Gave it a good pressure wash. It doesn't come up perfectly, but comes up okay. Decided to move the seat here instead of against this wall, just to give us some more growing space. And then all the way around the edge, and there, obviously not where the door is, the gate, and then back round to here, there's some sweet peas which we've just tied in, and giving it all a really nice wood chip as well, just to kind of finish it off and try and keep some of that moisture in as well. Another rose under there with a very dirty pot. We can't do sweet peas all the way around because the concrete that this is sitting on is at a bit of a weird angle and goes into the corner. So we can only really do sweet peas or anything we want to put in the ground to a certain point, but it's fine. And then we get to where the big greenhouse was. So we still haven't moved the water butts, but actually I'm going to leave them there for now, because when it comes to putting this greenhouse foundation, this greenhouse's foundations in, keeping these here will actually tell us whether it's completely straight or not, without having to use the drone or anything, which will make life a little bit easier. So they're staying there for now, and then we just need to sort out the foundations, put the glass back in here, and then we'll have another little greenhouse on this plot that we can use. The rhubarb back here is starting to bounce back. So this was moved around from plot 12 and it looked a bit sad for a little while, but it is now starting to do okay. It's way behind everybody else's, but it doesn't really matter. It would just be nice to have a rhubarb here, and I can see that when this gets bigger, this is going to be a really good spot for it because it will stay nice and low. But this is an area we don't really need to go to very often. And then the rest of the back is just covered up, really. So this is a path, the shared path down the middle of these two plots. This isn't our plot, obviously. And then just tried to cover it up a little bit just to control the weeds until we're ready to tackle this bit again, because they were starting to show a little bit like this area, which we've left clear because there's some beetroot in here from last year, which survived the flooding, which is amazing. But all of these little like weeds and stuff, they were starting to pop up, and it was just getting a little bit overwhelming. So we can just tackle a little bit at a time now and just take the covering off as we need the space and just deal with the weeds as and when, rather than feeling like we're just overwhelmed with weeds. So these beetroot, as I say, they were in the flooding and they look like they died right back, but they have actually survived the flood. So that's a 4-month flood that they've survived, which is incredible. So we're just leaving those in to see what they do, which is a bit annoying because I would like to just completely cover this space. But you know, you're not going to complain if the plants have actually survived the floods. That is actually ideal. And it means that we are able to grow beetroot on this plot, even if it floods, which is really nice. Compost bin area hasn't changed very much. We still haven't used any of the compost in the middle, but it looks like it is ready to use, which is really nice. So rather than shuffling it around when we want to move the compost bins, I think we'll just use all the compost to make it a bit easier. They are leaning a bit though, they're not completely upright like they used to be. And then the last thing to show you at the moment is the comfrey, which has once again bounced back really well from the flooding. They were looking a bit sad, but they're looking really good now. And that's kind of it. We need to tidy up the rest of this really. And I have started thinking about putting some other flowers in, so maybe some nasturtiums will go in here, and we will definitely put some sunflowers at this end again because it looked absolutely incredible last year. But yeah, that is plot 79, mid-April, mid to late April 2022. I think I'm starting to really love it again. How about that? Plot 79 in April. Finally starting to look half decent again, and it looks like we're starting to get back on track. We're actually almost at the point that we were when it flooded again, apart from the fact that there's now no greenhouse here. The seating area is back to normal, the beds are ready to use. That whole back bit was kind of like that at the point in which it flooded last year as well. So we're not far off being back where we were, which is really cool. And we now, I think, have 2 plots ready to use for the upcoming season, which is really cool. So now we can just do little jobs like sorting out the wildflower patch and sowing seeds and tying things in and stuff, which is really cool. Anyway, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are very excited for the upcoming season, because I certainly am. And I hope you also had a really nice Easter as well. So from me, Sergio and Poppy, take the very best of care. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you if you've subscribed, and hopefully we'll get to see you again in the next video. So take care. Bye.